loves, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Tyla, and today I'm going to be going over how to break soul ties. This is a very important topic, so if you're interested, let's just get right into it. For starters, when it comes to soul ties, they're not always necessarily a bad thing. It depends on the type of soul tie that you may have with a person. So there are godly soul ties and there are ungodly soul ties. So as for a godly soul tie, these soul ties are usually created when two people share a connection through the love of God, and an ungodly soul tie is usually based off of a connection that is not formed through the love of God. Okay, so now I'm going to break it down into the three different types. So there is emotional, physical, and spiritual. When it comes to an emotional soul tie, this is usually a soul tie that's created through two people sharing an emotional connection. Okay, so when it comes to the physical soul tie, this is usually created when two people are physical with each other. So it can be from hugging, it can be from kissing, and it can be from having sex. So as for the spiritual soul tie, this is usually created when people share a spiritual connection with each other. So it can be through worship, it can be through prayer, or it can be through meditation. So I'm going to give you guys a few signs to tell whether or not a soul tie that you may have with somebody may be bad or may be healthy. Now, if you do have a negative soul tie with somebody, this is going to cause you to feel very anxious. It's going to cause you to feel codependent on the other person. It's going to cause you to overlook certain flaws that they may have. And it's also going to cause you to have an unhealthy attachment. When it comes to the unhealthy soul ties as well, you can usually tend to feel bonded to that person or trapped within that connection and in that relationship. I noticed with these connections as well, they usually end up going in cycles. And a lot of the times trauma bonds are formed in these types of relationships, which also makes it really hard to release and detach from these types of soul ties. Now, with a healthy soul tie, you usually get a sense of peace, of security, love, compassion, encouragement, and it usually feels a lot more lighter and it feels a lot healthier. And it also tends to feel a lot less spiritually draining. Now, the thing is too with a soul tie is that it is possible for the soul tie to be one-sided, and this is usually created when a person either doesn't reciprocate the same feelings for you, or if you tend to watch a lot of pornography. This does create one-sided soul ties and an attachment on your end with that individual as well. The reason why it's so important to break certain soul ties that you have from dealing with people in your past is because when you are attached to somebody energetically and spiritually, this can really set you back in a lot of ways, and it can set you back in different ways. So for example, me personally, from my experience, I found that when I was attached to certain energies from my past and certain soul ties that I was involved in, I noticed that things weren't really prospering for me in my life. I was very stagnant and I didn't really understand, but it was because of certain energies that I had attached to me still. Another thing as well is when you do have sex with somebody, and this is why it's so important to abstain from sex if you are not in a committed relationship or marriage. Because when you have sex with somebody, you are exchanging energy. You are creating a literal bond with somebody spiritually. You are locked in like this. Even if you're not together anymore and you go your separate ways, you two are still very much connected. So this is why it's so important to be careful about how you are using your sexual energy and who you are connecting with in all of these ways. And as well, when you are attached to certain people spiritually, that does affect how you are mentally, emotionally, and spiritually as well. Because if that person did deal with certain things, or they have certain baggages within themselves, or they suffered with different things mentally and spiritually, you are going to be affected by that as well. So it's really important to cleanse your energy and to detach from these spiritual bonds so that you can be free, you can be lighter, you can be just in your own energy, and it'll be a lot easier for you to not only manifest and receive the things that you want, but to end up cultivating healthier relationships, to be more aligned with the people that are on the same level with you mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Having an unhealthy soul tie can literally block all of these things. So that is why it is very important to release those soul ties. Okay, so now are some tips that can help you to break and release these soul ties. So for the first one, it is prayer and meditation, as well as reading the Bible. So for me personally, I would do a prayer. You can find a prayer online. I usually find one online, or I just kind of come up with what it is that I want to say and what it is that I want to release, and I pray about it. This is extremely powerful, and your words are very powerful. So make sure that you are speaking and you are praying about the things that you want to release. Now, when it comes to meditation, a little trick that I do, because I found some really good meditations here on YouTube, is I would pray, I would write down all the things that I would want to release, and then I would sit down and I would do a meditation. Now, in this meditation, what I would do is I would close my eyes, take a few deep breaths, get myself to a calm, centered place, and then I will imagine the person that I want to release the soul tie from. So once I imagine this person being in front of me, it's just picture you and the person right there. You would imagine them, and you would imagine two cords attached from you and that person. Once you see those cords and you can envision it in your mind's eye, you imagine the cords releasing. Now, as you imagine it releasing, you can speak, I am now releasing myself from this soul tie with so-and-so. You can say a prayer as you do that, however you would like. But that is basically what I do. And I just imagine myself being surrounded by a white light. And I would just imagine my energy being cleansed as I say the prayer, or as I say the affirmations, as I am speaking and envisioning the release. This is a really powerful way to release a soul tie, and this is usually the way I do it every time. And you can do this for as many individuals as you want. It does not have to be just one person. Anybody that you have had a strong connection with, a strong bond with, anybody that you have been in a long relationship with, or just been attached to in any type of way, you can do it for everybody. And I'm also going to leave a prayer at the end so that you guys can use. Now, the second way to release yourself from a soul tie is to cut all communication. It's going to be very hard for you to break and release a soul tie if you are still in communication with anybody that you were attached to. And I don't care if it's just texting and you're not physically seeing that person. Any form of communication has to come to a complete end. And this is going to help as well. So make sure that you cut all communication. Okay, now this next one is very important. And I actually learned about this today. So when you are trying to release a soul tie, it's important to renounce any vows or commitment. So I don't know if you, for example, have been in a relationship before and you would say to that person, oh, I'll always love you, or I'll love you forever, I'll be with you forever. So that's very important, because a lot of the time we may see a future with somebody and we may envision that person to be the person that we will end up with long term, but it doesn't always work out like that. And so it's very important that if you do end up breaking up with somebody or just releasing somebody and you're not in that relationship anymore, and that's somebody that you may have made one of those vows to or commitments to renounce that statement, because that can create a bond unintentionally. Okay, so last but not least is forgiveness. And this one is very important, because if you are holding on to some sort of grudge or resentment or anger from a person or a situation, you are still holding on to that attachment that you have with them. I know how hard that can be when it comes to forgiving somebody, especially if they've caused you a certain level of trauma in your life. Now, I've had connections where I experienced a lot of trauma. And even still to this day, I would not take anything back that I've been through. I will not feel any type of hatred or negativity or just any type of ill will towards anybody, because at the end of the day, things happen, and once something is done, it's done. There's nothing that you can do. There's no point in holding on to the pain and resentment and anger that you have against somebody that's done something to you. It's unnecessary. It's bad for your health, and it's not good for you spiritually. So it really is in your best interest to release and to just forgive. And it's going to help you more than the other person at the end of the day. You know, people do things and people make mistakes. We're all human. And I do apologize if you have experienced any type of trauma in any form. And it is hard. This is why healing is so important, and pouring into yourself is so important as well, because it does take a lot to be able to forgive somebody, especially depending on what they may have done to you. Everybody is different. So yeah, self-reflection and just isolation really helped me with this part, because what I would do is I would think about all the things that I experienced that really hurt me and traumatized me, and I would write about it. So I would write a letter to the individual. You do not have to actually send a letter, of course. I would just write a letter to that person expressing myself, how I felt about the situation, how it made me feel, and what I felt about the situation. And this really is good as well if you never got closure from a certain type of situation. I would highly recommend this. and just write out everything that you feel, and just end the letter with forgiveness and love. Now, if you want as well, you can burn that letter. That's what I usually do when I am trying to release things or just feelings, people, emotions, etc. I would just write it out and then I'll just burn it, get rid of it. Boom, that's it. You do not have to actually speak to the person to forgive them. And it's really just more so important for you. But I'm going to be leaving the prayer right here on the screen for you guys to see. So you can pause the video, screenshot it, do what you need to do. So yeah, guys, make sure that you are detaching and breaking free from these soul ties, because when you are still connected to somebody energetically, they can still feed off of your energy, even manifest off of your energy, use your energy, drain you energetically. So you want to make sure that you are detaching, especially if you are on a spiritual journey or you're just trying to evolve and get into a better place in your life and you want to attract new. You have to cleanse and clear out all the old, whether it's energy, whether it's physical things that you may have in your house from certain people. Just get rid of all of that old energy. It's gonna make a big difference. I hope that you enjoyed. Share this video with somebody that you feel may need it. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace out.
Look at the streets, you are not my mate. If you become a shit, not be head of state. But my people then go say I don't want fight, I don't want that.